So I don't want to delay any further. You're going to recognize we got Michelle Bruno, Rachel Steffen. We got so many awesome names. You guys, let's bring our amazing panel up on stage, shall we? For our next session. Oh, yeah, louder. Come on. There you guys go. All right, Michelle, you take over. You're the boss.
Oh, the light is right in my eyes. Okay. Thank you all for coming. My name is Michelle Bruno. I'm with the Dahlia Plus Agency, and we are going to discuss the exciting topic of integrations, which doesn't, on the face of it, sound that exciting, but actually it's one of the biggest pain points that event organizers suffer when they're trying to integrate lots of different technologies together. So we have the most amazing, like Will said, the most amazing experts on integrations. And we're going to kind of go through, what is an integration and how do you make it better and who leads and why do some people not want to do them and why do some people do, and all of those really important questions. And I hope that you'll come away with knowing how to handle integrations and what to do when your vendors don't want to do it the way you want to do it, and vice versa. When organizers demand too much from the vendors or don't want to pay for it. Things like that. So anyway, we're going to start, first of all, Adam, since you're way down there.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Hi there.
Introduce yourself and
I can do that.
company.
Hi, everybody. I'm John Diadamo. So I'm Senior Account Executive at Grip. It is my third day. So thank you very much for having me, everybody. But came from a previous tech company and BizBash, so I've been around the industry for a while. But great to be here and help talk about integrations and how Grip also has done that.
Well, thank you. I'm sorry I called you Adam, but I was thinking of the first man.
You were going last name.
And
You were going last name.
it was just, I was going in that.
And also Adam Perry, right?
Adam Perry.
So
Yeah, there's a lot of great Adams.
Absolutely.
But anyway, Joe,
Hi.
introduce yourself. Talk about your company a little.
Thanks, Michelle. Hi, everyone. I'm Joe. I am a co-founder at Lineup Ninja. So we make software which helps you to organize all your speakers at an event like this. So all the speakers for this event, including ourselves, we were all kind of organized using our software to get us all on stage at the right time in the right place and all that kind of good stuff.
So clearly it works because we're here.
There you go. Yeah. But also we have integrations with both Rachel's platform and with Grip, so we can use that as some examples to talk about some of the content we're going to be talking about in this session.
Great. Rachel, who are you?
Laura.
Laura or Rachel or Adam. Maybe you're Adam.
It was like more Adam. Asked me and I told her Adam because of the last name. I apologize. I'm Rachel Stefan. I'm founder of Snowball, an event marketing solution to help organizers get more butts in seats. Starting with the speakers, and that's why we integrate with Lineup Ninja in order to get our speakers to start promoting events early on in the stage.
And so you're integrated with everyone.
Well,
All the people, all the platforms.
we're trying.
Well, good. While I have you, I want you to tell us, what is an application programming interface? What is it? It's a piece of software? Is it instructions? What is it?
Well,
And what do you do with it?
I'm the least technical person in the room. I am the founder of the company, but I come from marketing background. But I tell you what it means to me.
Yeah.
Is what technology and data communicates with each other between two different platforms. For the example of Snowball, what we need to do is communicate with Lineup Ninja through an API. That's what you're talking about. In order to pull, for us, what's interesting for us to get is first name, last name, let's say session, whatever we need to kind of personalize that speaker ticket, to pull it from Lineup Ninja through that API connection so that it's seamless and the client doesn't have to do anything or exchange any CSV files.
Mm-hmm. So why is it such a big deal?
Streamlining, removing a lot of manual work. So if you have to do it more than few times and you have many shows that you're doing it, it makes sense to go that route to kind of make it easy for everybody around. One, it's easy, it removes the time and the error, and you're always up to date. So that's whatever we hold in terms of speaker information, let's say, to get those campaigns out, is whatever Lineup Ninja is holding. So we did this for ETL as well. So same thing, you know, when we need to kind of promote, to get the speakers to promote, you just push a button, it pulls in the latest information. Because usually, you know, you're preferring speaker information. There's always changes. Some speaker dropped, maybe some session changes. You're moving stuff around. So you always want to have the latest information on the side of marking it out. That's from our side, and I'm sure Joe will talk about pushing it to the website and all the different public spaces to promote it. So it's really essential to keep that sanity, to keep all the flow really in check.
So, Joe, I understand why two different platforms or multiple platforms would want to integrate with one another. There's lots of benefits. Namely, it makes it easier for the user. But what are the overall benefits for organizers wanting to have two platforms talking to each other?
Okay, thanks. Great question. So I guess as an organizer, ultimately what you want is a successful event, and you've got to put together the technology stack that's going to achieve that. So you've got your strategy for your event, and all the rest of the stuff really is kind of like how you're going to achieve that strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess there are two main ways, if you're looking at putting your technology stack together, there are two main approaches you can take. You can look at an all-in-one solution that's going to be the software that's going to manage all your registrations, all your speaker management, all your marketing, the website, mobile app, the whole thing on one platform. And there are loads of real benefits to doing that because all your data is in one place. You've got all this different functionality that can draw on the same set of data. So there are real pros to going down the all-in-one route. And if you do that, you don't really care about integrations or APIs or any of this stuff because all the data is just living in one platform. Great, nice and easy. But some of the all-in-one solutions are built such that they've got some great features in some of the areas, but where companies like ours are trying to win customers from those platforms is by saying, listen, you know, the Cvents or the Stovers or some of these other all-in-one platforms, they're great, but we can give you slightly more sophisticated or much more sophisticated products with real niche features that allow you to achieve a lot more in these different and like specific areas than you can achieve with something like an all-in-one platform. But you know, we've got limited resources. We can't create an all-in-one solution that's got all the best possible features. So we need to be able to connect all these best-in-class specialist products up together so that you as the organizer get the benefit of all the best tools with all the best features that can also talk to each other. Because if they don't talk to each other, it's not useful to you. Sorry, it's a long way of getting around to the point. The point is, if you build an event tech stack using lots of best-in-class specialist products, you can access all those best features. And part of the challenge that will arise from that is, do those best-in-class tools talk to each other? Do they play nicely with each other? Or are you going to end up with a real headache when you can't get data out of one platform and into another one? So I guess that's the benefit of going down this kind of specialist approach. You get all the best tools and the best features.
So, that someone was talking to us. John.
Hi.
Hi. So, in the relationship between two platforms that want to integrate,
Yes.
is there sort of a dominant platform and is there a subordinate platform such that one has sort of the power to say, no, I don't want to integrate with you, or another says, yes, I want to integrate with you, but, you know, the organizer hasn't told them to do so. I mean, is there like a hierarchy of who's in charge and stuff like that in the integration world?
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't call it dominant and subordinate as much as, so Grip is a big believer in what Joe mentioned, best in class coming together and building an event tech stack. We actually released a report that can help all of you create your own event tech stack and make it the best that it possibly can be. So you should check that out. But in terms of relationships, I tend to view the mobile app or virtual event platform almost like a venue. If you think about it, it is kind of like a central hub, just like a venue is. And so a lot of times what winds up happening is that partner tends to not so much be done, but just run point, because somebody needs to run point. And that just has been like my experience the last 8 years doing my various roles, that tends to happen a lot. And you bring in some of the best in class partners that you possibly can. So I think that's all piece of it.
So who's in charge though? Like who's saying, is it the organizer that says to say I have a master platform? Well, I don't want to use that analogy, but I'm using Cvent and I want to now integrate Snowball with Cvent because I like the functionality of both. Is the organizer sort of in charge and compelling the two platforms to integrate one with the other, or are there other forces at play in making those decisions? Because what I've learned over the years is that some platforms just don't want to integrate with others. At least that's what it was like at the beginning, because for lots of reasons. They don't have time. They don't have the expensive developers. Maybe the API integration sucks at one end or the other. So I guess what I'm asking is it the organizer's job to say, okay, you two guys go in a corner now and play nice, and let me know when it's over?
Well, when I was at BizBash, David Adler always told me the importance of the event planner superhero, and how the organizer does have a job that is it's pretty monumental when you think about it. And so I would say the organizer does have a key driving role. Of course, they're the ones usually controlling the budgets, line items, everything else. So an organizer needs to understand what the goals, what the objectives are. First and foremost, are you looking to monetize your hosted buyer? Are you looking to bring in a speaker management solution like Lineup Ninja? And then finding those best-in-class technologies that can help do that. So I'd say the organizer is very much in the driver's seat in conjunction with, like I said, the venue-esque app or platform, so to speak.
I don't know, Rachel, you just kind of took a deep breath. You're probably thinking back over the years, the thought of all of the things that happened, and who bailed you out? Did the organizer come in and say,
I mean, the demand has to come from the organizer, but they don't come in line thinking, oh, I do integrate, we need you to integrate. They come in with a problem, with a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And when they come to us, usually they already have the event stuff, they did the management, but the issue that when they come to us is that, we want to get more people at our events. How can you help us? We explain, they love it, fine, okay, well, who are you using for your registration? Because for us, that source of data, important to us is let's say the registration for the attendees. And then in some cases, the speaker management is another platform. And then the exhibitor management is another platform. But is there maybe a hub where, let's say, a grip platform is usually pulling all three in one place? Then maybe it's best for us to connect with them and get all that information, as opposed to connecting with three different solutions there. So that's where the conversation starts happening. And that's sometimes you don't realize that, there's this that needs to happen behind. And then that delays the whole process. It might be easy and simple with some of them that it's built that it's very easy integration. And if you want to go a little bit deeper with that, then it takes different levels of work or workarounds to make it happen, depending on the platform you're looking to integrate with, because we need them more than they need us. We need to get that data. So it's always on to us to customize and do the workarounds and say, okay, when you're ready, we'll help you plug it. Some of them might come back to the client and say, well, our solution is not built to customize this one. We're going to charge you extra for that. So the organizer have to think, okay, well, I didn't budget for that. I didn't know that before. So now I have to pay my already existing registration platform, for example, to do this tweak. And I have to pay you also to do this one for me. And we're this close to the event, maybe it's not worth it. So that's why you need this conversation and shedding the light. I mean, this conversation, yes, it is technical and it's not talked about as well sexy, but that's the reality of every single event. You know, when you have to organize, there's so many different stacks, even the ones that say all in one, they're still connecting with multiple different platforms that you don't know. You sign, it's okay, well, we need to get the license here, we need to do this one.
Amen.
Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, darn.
Well, yeah. Beep.
So, Joe, Snowball comes in towards the end, closer to the event happening, but Lineup Ninja comes in at the beginning. So are there different considerations and different conversations that you have with, say, the larger platforms or the organizer asking if the larger platform will integrate with you because you're there first, maybe?
Yes. So I guess it's the question that you kind of started off by asking John, and I think there's still stuff to say about that, which is, as the organizer, how do you make sense of all this? How do you get what you actually need from your vendors out of the end of it? And so for us, I particularly speak for Lineup Ninja, we are a small kind of still, we've been around a few years, but essentially a startup or scale-up company. We've got a relatively small market share. And we'll be integrating with companies that have got a much greater market share. So for us, from a business point of view, we're highly motivated to write integrations with these other platforms because that, for us, that's access to their customers. That's a way for us to have these partnerships with the people like Grip or Swapcard or the Cvents, are slightly bigger platforms. So we've got more skin in the game in making this integration happen. So that's a dynamic to be aware of if you're an organizer. Look at who are the suppliers that you've got in your tech stack, and can look at who's going to be more motivated to make this integration happen. Who's going to be like my ally that I can recruit here to make sure that this is going to happen. Whereas if Cvent is part of your tech stack, and you got Cvent say, right, we want you to write an integration with Lineup Ninja. I mean, firstly, they're probably going to say, who? or let's say, oh yeah, we've heard of those guys, but they're going to bring us maybe 20 new clients in a year. And developers are expensive, and we've got all this other stuff that's a really big, major part of our roadmap. Whereas for Lineup Ninja, a client comes to us and says, oh, you haven't got a Cvent integration. Do you want to write one? We're going to be like, oh, well, of course. We have to integrate with Cvent for our company to have a kind of strategic future. So it's really worth being aware of those kind of power dynamics between your suppliers. And I'm kind of cutting my own throat here. So look out for who's going to be more motivated to help you out, and then you can probably get more from them. And also, there perhaps isn't one good piece of advice for every organizer, because every organizer's got different skills and confidence. Some organizers will have in-house, they'll have tech experts who can just sit down and say, oh, I can speak all the language of all this API integration stuff. We can chat with the suppliers. Everything's easy. For some organizers, or maybe a small association or a small agency, it might be worth partnering with an event tech agency or a freelance event tech consultant who can come in and advise you on this stuff. Say, oh yeah, I understand how to put these products together, and I can guide you through the process. And then you've got someone who is on your side, they're an ally in your corner, and they can help make sure that you get the win that you need. I'm not sure if I answered the question you asked me, though.
You answered it beautifully, as usual, Joe. Thank you. I was thinking about what happened during COVID regarding integrations, because it seemed like larger platforms sprung up overnight, like in 6 weeks, like someone that had never existed before was now a virtual event platform and needing to integrate with other registration companies or other marketing companies or, meetings, relationship management companies. And maybe you didn't want to do it. Did you ever run into that? Were you a little bit freaked out thinking this is a company that didn't exist last week and now the organizer got a good deal on a virtual event platform, and we'd like them now to integrate with everyone? And were you kind of scared?
I think during the pandemic, we were just, if you want to pay us to do something, we'll do it.
Ah, okay.
Here it is.
I mean, the pandemic was kind of weird in the sense that some people really won and some people really lost out of it. And so, yeah, it was just a kind of interesting time.
And like, I guess the other side of that is, so you integrate with someone that's just a fly-by-night or just, probably won't be around tomorrow. Is there a danger in that? Should the organizer be aware of the fact that they're compelling companies to work together, that maybe it's not a good idea for one or the other?
Maybe, but I think ultimately we're here to serve the client.
Oh, not necessarily paranoid, obviously.
Yeah.
More the client relations and the potential of partnering with the clients, because they might choose this technology now, but then they're gonna move to something else because of something that they decided. So I'm not driven to decide whether we do it or not based on the actual partner, but more on the client and the future of building a relationship with them. But also the integration. I mean, there's also different levels, at least for us, for integrations. The basic one, the easy one, is just a matter of putting our script on their pages to collect the people to get them to share and then track conversions. If we see potential that from a particular organizer or maybe a particular platform, we see a lot of usage on that particular supplier, then we might go open a discussion directly with that supplier and say, okay, we are running a lot of events we have mutual clients together. It's in our best interest, both of us. So let's look into figuring out a way, or not figuring out, going a little bit deeper integration with API. So it makes it seamless for the client, for us, for you. So it's a win-win-win across the board. That's when you gotta take it a step further. We won't go completely full on, okay, let's get our developers on it, and we're gonna develop full integration for every single client that comes in. But after a while, we're integrated with over 40, 50 technology platforms right now. So when the client comes to us and saying, okay, do you integrate with this one? It's like, okay, here's the ones that we work with right now. If it's there, it's easy, it's done. If it's not, we're open to do it, but there's a small fee that we're starting to add to it because some of them are very complex and the other players don't want to do it, especially if they're large ones. They put it all on you to do it. We're still small. And it's our time and efforts to do that. So we're charging a little bit for the client. But if it's already on the list of ones that we integrate with, then there's no cost to do it.
So what are we talking about cost-wise? Are we talking about $5,000? Are we talking about $1.25?
No.
What's at stake here? Because some organizers it's worth it, and others it's like, eh. So that's question number one. Joe, you can answer that one.
Yeah.
And question number two is like, what goes wrong in an integration? Like, what's the horrible behind the scenes stuff that organizers really don't ever know about? Probably should know that it's going on, and maybe they can help go, okay, people. If like a smaller platform is being taken advantage of, by a larger platform, something like that, I don't know. So cost and then ickiness.
I'll do the cost one first.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a little bit related to your previous question about are there platforms that you don't want to integrate with because they're fly-by-night or whatever? Perhaps more or similar to that. There are platforms like the Cvents of the world where for us it's like, well, there's so many people use it. It's so ubiquitous in this market that it makes sense for us to integrate with them. And if a client comes to us and says, will you write us a Cvent integration? Assuming it's fairly straightforward, like you just want your speakers that you've collected through Lineup Ninja to go into your agenda on Cvent, we'll recognize that that's going to add value to our platform. So we'd probably just waive the fee for it.
Right.
If it was something perhaps a little bit more, not as widely used as Cvent, then we might say, well, we still recognize that our platform our offer to the market is going to benefit by having this integration on our list of integrations. It's going to cost us $3,000 of developer time to do it, but we'll just charge you, we'll absorb 80% of that because we know we're going to realize that value in terms of future sales. if it's a case of, we want you to integrate Lineup Ninja with this horrible system that my mate Bob wrote in 1994.
My nephew Bob.
Yeah. No one knows how to look after it. We're the only people that use it. Then we're going to charge you full price because it's going to be some weird, horrible system that we're not going to get any value out of doing all that work. So we're just going to charge you full price.
And how do you
it's
come up
probably
with,
going to be
how
more
do you
icky.
come up with the, we'll get to the ickiness, but how do you come up with the cost? Is it's just based on developer time?
Yeah.
More or less.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I second that.
So then where's the breakdown? I want you to all chime in on that. Like what's the stuff that has happened in the past that caused an integration not to be great or the experience to be horrible or
So I have 2 points. First of all, to answer that, it's like a relationship. Communication is the most essential piece to any integration situation, tech stack that you're getting yourself into. The kickoff call is sacred. Making sure that you have access, and what I do is I actually have the client's objectives right on the slide so that anybody who's on the call, integration partners, anybody else, we keep the organizer objectives, and so that we always have that on the top of our mind. So communication. But my other point is, and those of you in the audience who are event organizers probably know this, all-in-one is BS. And I'm going to tell you why. So some of the people who say that they're all-in-one are actually, it's a patchwork of acquisitions.
yeah.
So when a patchwork of acquisitions takes place, and I've met with hundreds of different companies, okay, the reality is that sometimes they don't work the best together in one time. It sucks up developer time, and a lot of times some of the features go away. So that's why at Grip, the key belief is that with the event tech stack, the best in breed, making sure, I think we have like over 50 integrations. We have tons of integrations because we found partners that will have the customer in mind. And I think that that's really the bottom line. Keep the customer in mind and keep it to partners who are experienced, they know what they're doing, and they can help you out.
What do you guys think about, like, let's just say Salesforce has this reservoir of apps and things that will automatically integrate with Salesforce, and these apps are just kind of sitting there waiting for people to use them because they already have Salesforce. Is there a value for the organizer if there were such a thing in events? And I think Freeman attempted to do that years ago, and I don't know where that went. Yeah, Fusion. Perfect. Ding, ding, ding. I wish I... Great, okay, so thank you. So,
Seth also that got started recently
yeah,
about standardizing a little bit the data points.
is there an advantage for an organizer to go into like this pool of a whole bunch of apps and say, I want, a black one and a green one and a whatever, and I'm gonna like put it all together and federate it, and or just the fact that ecosystem exists with a large platform like an all-in-one, a Cvent, a Swapcard, or whatever. Is there a reason why those don't exist in events, or is it a good thing, or what do we do with something like that? Would you guys go into the pool, and say, here I am, I will integrate with anyone that comes into the pool, near the pool?
So there was a platform called Blender.io, which
Yeah.
was specific to the events industry, and the idea that was like people are familiar with Zapier. So it's a platform for integrating other platforms.
Yeah.
And that's really useful if you're integrating two platforms that don't have a direct integration between them, because you can take data out of, let's say, Lineup Ninja, put it into Zapier or Make or Blend. Make is another one like Zapier, or Blender. So you send out information from us to that platform, and then you pull it out from there to Salesforce or wherever else. By adding that extra step into the process, there's more code to have to maintain. And also, for us at Lineup Ninja, we'll guarantee that the bit between us and Zapier or Blender or whatever will work, but that's where our boundary of responsibility is. So then you need to find someone who's going to make the second step work, and that can potentially get quite expensive depending on how sophisticated the other end of that integration is. So we've been working with a client recently who is doing Salesforce integration, and that's how we're managing it. And Salesforce is perhaps a slightly tricky example. If it was another event tech platform, so like, for example, a Snowball, it makes sense for Lineup Ninja and Snowball to have a direct integration because the data model or the data that we're sharing is relatively simple, and we both agree on what that data is. You know, speakers have got a first name, a last name, a LinkedIn profile, headshot, bio. The sessions have got a time and start. We all agree on what this domain of information looks like and what it involves. If you're sending speaker data to Salesforce because actually all your speakers are potentially a lead, now all of a sudden our speaker with his first name, last name, LinkedIn and stuff, it needs this other information about what deal stage is this lead that you've just created. And Lineup Ninja doesn't have any kind of opinion about that or view. We don't think about leads. So the data isn't quite as well matched. And somebody's got to then decide, well, what do we do where the data doesn't quite fit? Where does that extra bit of information come from? At what point does that get added? And it all starts to add more complexity to the whole process, which means more maintenance and potentially more cost. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What is an open API? I feel like this is now where we've reached the academic stage of the presentation. What's an open API? I hear about open APIs, and it just seems like, oh, it's an open API. It must be so easy. You just plug it in. Is that true?
Well, it's basically a open source documentation for developers to use. You can usually find it on a website or a PDF, but usually a website that really it helps add transparency and add ease to the process of an API.
So what's a closed API then? Like, what would be the opposite of it? Do you have to go searching for the documentation? It's a mystery.
Yeah, I'm not sure that there's a closed API is a term in and of itself, but the API is the kind of mission, the computer code that lives on the platform that is either, it's kind of like saying that this is my understanding of the data. This is what my database looks like. It's got a first name, a last name. It's got a speaker's LinkedIn profile. This is all the data that I understand. And then these are the things that you can do with it. So you can add a new speaker, you can overwrite an existing one when you update the information, or you can delete them and so on. So it's a mixture of A, the data model, and then B, the operations that can be performed on that data. So that's what the API kind of does. An open API is basically where a platform is saying, here's our data model, here's the stuff you can do with it, and here's all the documentation to understand so your developers can actually interact with it. And also there'll be, how do you authenticate with our APIs so that we know that your requests from your platform are actually allowed to access that data or delete it or whatever. So it's kind of a combination of those things in simple terms.
So, Will, are you still there? Because I can't see past this light. Are there any questions?
Will's chatting.
Oh, okay. Well, why are we still having this conversation about integrations? I was writing about this like 7 years ago. Like, it was hard and, no one wanted to do it and it was costly and, there's always been drama around integrations. Why are we still there? I thought now we've invented like the cure for everything because we have AI now. Can AI just like, you unleash AI and it integrate, and will that be the future, or it's still always going to be fraught?
Well, we do believe AI is a pretty big deal, and we use it for our matchmaking and hosted buyer. But the reason integrations will always be a thing is that different tech companies do different things best, right? Some tech companies do speaker management best. Some tech companies do marketing best, and it's like what Snowball does. And Grip, in my opinion, is one of the best I've ever seen at matchmaking and engagement and hosted buyer using artificial intelligence. And so unless one mega ginormous Godzilla company comes in and gets everybody. And even then, like I said before, all-in-one isn't really a thing because you have to still make those technologies work together, even if you bought everybody. So it will always be a thing.
What do you guys think? I mean, I understand the need for integrations, but why are we having the conversation about how it's hard?
We talked about it enough.
Yeah.
We don't talk about it enough. We talk about what's out the outside, public, but behind the scenes, we don't talk about it.
So there's like trouble in River City behind the scenes of integrate companies that need to integrate, or
It's not always that painful.
what is this?
It's very easy and very simple, but it can get complicated depending on the players.
Yeah. So I have one more question. Are there any questions? Okay. So what can you leave event organizers with in terms of advice on creating tech stacks in which an integration would obviously be required at some point? Should they stay away from some kinds of technology that maybe are not good players in the integration sandbox? Or is it just like you choose whatever you want to choose, organizer, and let the solutions work it out?
I think the conversation needs to start way earlier too, like in the process to know what's at stake. So when you're choosing the provider all the way at the beginning, that, main one for the event management one, ask the questions, what else or how open are they to integrate with other ones? Are there any additional costs? Because there's a lot of hidden costs that kind of like, oh, it adds up, that they need to be aware of, and get these partners talking way early, because sometimes it takes longer. It was one event we were supposed to do it with them, and then because then reviewing our API, getting it through their security system and the internal stuff like that, we didn't. They missed the whole event. We're supposed to snowball the event. We passed the deadline of the event and it didn't happen. We did it post-event with the content, that's fine, but still, that process is still going. They requested for changes for our API because they needed to make sure that, personal information, they are allowed to, from their side, delete it on our side, the API and all that stuff. We made the changes because it is a valuable partner also,
Right.
that we wanted to grow with them. We put it back in their court, and now we're still waiting for them to validate that and then confirm that, yeah, now it works the way we want it to work so that we can move forward with your event.
Should something like this be on the RFP for the larger platform, like who are you already integrated with? Or when they select a Snowball or a Lineup Ninja or a Grip, who are you integrated with? So they know up front, like, is it going to be a nightmare, or are we starting from scratch? Are they pre-integrated, which is better for everyone, right?
Yeah.
You're already playing together. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good. I think we've kind of covered everything. I want to thank Rachel Stefan of Snowball, Joe Atkinson, Lineup Ninja, Adam, just kidding, John D'Adamo.
You can call me Adam if you want. It's fine.
3 days, a new grip. What do they call like a new grip?
Gripper.
A gripper.
Yes.
A new gripper.
Yeah.
And I'm turning it back to Will.
All right, you guys, let's make a
Thanks, Michelle.
gigantic round of applause. Oh my gosh. And I hope that you integrate this knowledge as soon as possible. But thank you guys so much. Thank you so much for all the awesome, amazing knowledge. But we got one session left today. So make sure you come back and tune on in for some more amazing content just like this. Thanks, everybody.
Well, thanks, Will.
Thanks for